This is Nimrod, and I'm here with Liz Anderson Peacock, and thank you very much for your time. I know that a lot is going on in the world at the moment, but I've always looked up to you to be one of the great thinkers in chiropractic, and not only in a cognitive way, but also sharing from the heart, the soul, and the mind, and bringing it all together for us. And I'd love to just spend a few minutes with you sharing what your message is in this time for us chiropractors, and how we can shift what's going on for us and for the world around us at the moment. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Always a delight to speak with you.
Excellent, thank you. So I guess coming from your own personal journey first, you've gone through a lot of things that have been challenging, and maybe there's some beauty and lessons in there that you can share as a springboard to how we should be facing things today.
Sure, okay. So I think where I would start with that is this whole sense of the unknown. And I posted a little thing about that the other day, because what I was really recognizing is that so much of this fear is being generated because of the unknown. And we like to live in a world of predictability. We like to have things the same every single day. And we recognize this even with our patients, because the hardest thing for even people to overcome is themselves to change a little habit that can make a huge difference in their life. So we're in a world right now of fear that's being promoted at the highest of levels. And that is creating this unpredictability, which makes people feel like they're on a sinking ship sometimes, or sand that's unlevel. Businesses are being affected, children are being affected, older people, everyone's being impacted one way or another. And I think the key piece here is recognizing that at times of unpredictability, there's always an opportunity. And it's the opportunity for us to rise up and overcome ourselves in moving into a direction which is going to be healthy for us and create the, I'm going to say, the heart-centeredness where other people can anchor themselves to that hope and that opportunity as well. And we don't know what's going to happen, but I really think that when we can become more heart-centered and we focus on what we do want to create, we can move our own inner world, then it reflects in our outer world in the way that we respond and the things that we do. So for example, the other day I was focusing on random acts of kindness, and everywhere I was turning on some of the media that I was watching, I was observing the spontaneous acts of kindness. And it's because that's where my focus was. And I felt really uplifted and heartwarmed. And, I sent out a post to a few people saying, hey, if you need me to get anything for you, let me be the point person. I can go out and do the shopping. I'm happy to drop it off at your front door. Whatever you need, just let me know. We're here to help. And a couple people phoned me in tears, just saying, we're not forgotten. And even though we might be in isolation, we don't need to, we're the physical distance, we don't need to be emotionally isolated. And if anything, it's when we need to tune in with people even more so in other ways. And I think this whole other opportunity that comes from this is deciding what is really important to you.
Yeah. So, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. And I want to already have a couple of hours of conversation on what you just said. But maybe starting, so you brought up things like there are things we can do. We're empowered, there's trust, there's hope. How do those step up? Where do those derive from for you in times like this? What is the hope? What can we trust? What's the big picture here?
Right. So the big picture, I have no idea. I'm not going to put myself in that one. But for me, what really works well for me is to make the decision to become more conscious of what I'm thinking of on a regular basis. And there are patterns I have throughout my day where I kind of do a stop and catch myself, or I would say I've trained myself a little bit that when I feel uneasy, now that's telling me, oops, my mind isn't where I want it to be. So, when you sort of feel like, I don't want to say sick in your gut, but you just feel like that knot or tension or feel stressed or whatever, then it's like, oh, what was I just focused on? Whoa, how did I let my mind get over there? And rather than saying, oh, bad Liz, it's a matter of just note, like a cloud in the sky, let it float away and go back to where you want to be. So my anchoring points now are meditation. And I've said to a lot of people that was probably the hardest thing I ever learned to do, and the one I am so absolutely most grateful for achieving. And every meditation is not like, ooh, wow, that was incredible. That's why it's called practice, because there's days you just have to really overcome yourself because your mind is going in all these different directions. But you know, as I would say, one of my biggest mentors in this would be Joe Dispenza. And as he said, you know, it is like the tail wagging the dog versus the dog wagging the tail. So when the body's kicking and rearing up and giving you feedback that it doesn't like what you're doing, it doesn't want to sit still, and the mind is going, that's an opportunity for us to overcome ourselves, because that's the body saying, hey, I'm not used to this unknown. I would rather be distracted by, and fill in the blank. So meditation for me, huge. Being very careful what I consume for information and who I speak with, very important for me. And I often have changed conversations, and sometimes I've said to some people when I catch myself going in a direction is, you know what, I really don't want this conversation. Exercise for sure, and fresh air for me, grounding with Mother Nature. So, you know, even though right now I'm maintaining my appropriate 6 feet and 2-meter distance, I go out for walks, you know, and that's really huge, because I think it really, for me, it grounds me well as well.
Great. So basically the underlying lesson for you is there's a lot we can control, and, you know, perhaps the hope and the trust lies in the outcome that will happen from us controlling our state in amongst all of this chaos.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I would say that our response is absolutely under our control. If someone is saying someone else is making me feel this way, that is not true. You are choosing to feel that way. Now, it may not be easy for you to change how you feel because of a pattern that is so ingrained and it's triggered up many, many things in your life. That I'm not saying that it's going to be easy in any means, but to not take the responsibility to say that we choose, you know, that we are at the effect. Well, no, we are at the cause of how we want to feel.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. It's easy to blame, you know, blame, shame, you know, easy to do a lot of things, pointing the finger somewhere else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only is it hard to acknowledge that we have the responsibility, but to change that, that's hard as well, isn't it?
Oh, believe me, there are times that I have so wanted to be blaming somebody for something, and I just am like, oh, I just don't want to take responsibility. But ultimately, it's like, oh, I need to, and even things that have occurred that may seem very random, that how we choose to respond to that is under our control. So the event might not be necessarily what we can, you know, we can't change an event that's happened like this. We can't just change it, but we change how we respond. So Robert Resnick in the 1970s, he was a psychotherapist, and he came out with that great equation: E plus O equals R, event plus E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome, and the outcome can vary depending on the response. So for the example that I give some people is, okay, so I had an amputation below the knee. I could have chosen to be a victim. I could have chosen to be angry and frustrated and poor me and, oh, the war on whatever, and angry. And I chose the complete opposite. And in choosing the complete opposite, magic happened in my life on so many different levels, right? So what, you know, and it wasn't like I kind of came to that decision beforehand, but when I made the decision that I wanted to feel wholeness and gratitude and hope and faith and love and all these things, and I opened my heart to that, and I let go of trying to control it, that's where the magic happened.
Wow. So, I mean, that's definitely one I want to delve into in a second. But maybe before we get into that, you know, you just mentioned a whole lot of humanistic qualities that can be very useful for us to have. Stepping up from that, what would you say is one of your big premises, one of your big beliefs, one of your metaphysical premises in life?
I would say that there is some level of order to this universe. You know, there is this trusting that there's organization, and yes, there's chaos to create order quite often, But, you know, that's where I would say that the philosophy of, in the field of chiropractic really works well for me, is that, you know, the major premise really is stating that there is this universal intelligence in all matter, which continually gives to it all of its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. So when we get into sort of align it with some of the thinking in quantum physics, if we look at this field of intelligence and is known as the field, it is this non-tangible energy or intelligence that exists in that, that has, in any moment, in any particular moment, there are infinite possibilities in that moment. And so as we start reflecting on the mind, if the mind is our sort of our intelligent piece, is how are we going to be able to try to connect with this field of intelligence? And a lot of the time it's getting sort of very laser focused of being away from anything that gives you a sensation of being a body or time or a personality. And you get into this field of intelligence and this sort of just as an awareness. And from there, you just open up to whatever emotion you want to be feeling. And in my experience, in being able to do that, it is absolutely remarkable how there's this sense of absolute connection on such a different level. And some of the evidence that's coming out that's being studied from a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, the scientists are very interested because they are seeing incredible physiological changes. And I think a lot of the idea behind that in particular is it gets us out of the way to let our autonomic nervous system do what it's supposed to, and allowing the body to comprehend and respond and heal itself.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And a lot for us to tap into, and again, a lot of capacity that we have in terms of that possibility. What is there right now for us? Yeah.
Okay.
So it's so perhaps when you're meditating at the moment, what is it that you're thinking of? Intelligence, organization, abundance, possibility, potential? What's in your mind at the moment?
My biggest one right now is really about love and gratitude. And the idea behind that is when I get to the space of where I can open up my heart and I just am able to connect with this, I'm going to call it the vibration of love that is out there. And you don't feel like an individual anymore. You feel like you're part of this big collective. And you feel this collective expanding. And I've been on some meditations recently. I'm on one a day with groups, and then I do my own as well. And I've been on some with like 11,000 people around the world. And you all of a sudden tune into the group, and you actually feel the group. It sounds really woo-woo stuff, but in my experience, it's my woo-woo. I don't care. It's so absolutely real. And I would say that, so that's one thing, is tapping into love, tapping into the feeling of wholeness. And I sort of generate that as wholeness of everything, wholeness not just of humans, but of animals, of plants, of Mother Earth, the oceans, the skies, the landscape. And with that, it's sort of like you almost feel like this breath of Mother Earth that's going on right now. And that's the only way I can really describe my experience. So that wholeness piece is a big one for me. And then the other one, which they have shown is so huge for healing the body especially, is gratitude. And so I tap into, oh, I am so happy that, you know, for all the things that I'm happy for in my life. And some people may just have to start at one thing, that, hey, I've got toilet paper, whatever it is, you know, it doesn't matter. It's a matter of whatever makes you, where you can connect with that. And so I think that that's really, those are the three big ones that I would say that I tap into right now that really work well for me.
And so bringing that into a practical level for the individual chiropractor in this scenario that we're in at the moment, what are the lessons from love, wholeness, and gratitude for what you're seeing happening around the world right now?
Yes. So we are so much more resourceful and creative than what we give ourselves credit for. So it's tuning into that. And I'm going to say it's about, for me, it's about simplify, get very clear, This is a great time for people to get rid of incompletions, get rid of the stuff that they've been holding off time to do, get it done now. Like, it's amazing in my home what I've been cleaning out. My messes and my incompletions, because I give myself a couple hours a day. It's like, oh, I'm going to pick this today. I'm going to pick this today. And I know I'm off track, but you know what? This is all great opportunity to be more creative and resourceful. You know, what things do you want to change? What things in your practice do you want to change? Like, for example, your a training manual, or, you know, whatever it might be, the conversations with patients. Why not start writing things now that if you've had patients that have chosen to hold off care, or if you're not allowed to deliver care, what's going to be your message for them? But make it from your heart. Don't make it from your brain, or make it from a combination of both. You know, the first thing we want for our people is we want them to be safe. We want them to be healthy. Why not be doing messages right now on how can you keep yourself safer? How do you keep yourself happier through this event? Create that level of community, because community to me is coming together in unity, which is about wholeness, right? And so meeting people in recognizing what their fears are the same things as finances and the unknown, and, you know, what's going to happen in my health, and, oh, what if I get it? And all these things that I think we can help them upregulate, but we need to be the leaders in doing it to ourselves first, and recognizing not every day is it a winning day, right, for ourselves, because that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as well. And we see that, but being really authentic and honest at saying, oh, I had a tough day today. You know what? I got on the news cycle and all of a sudden I found myself here, but this is what I did. And live by the example of what you did to get yourself back on track. And I think that's really key. This is a beautiful time to start talking about the chiropractic lifestyle. You know, this is one of the reasons why we want you to have good movement. We want you to have fueling for your body that's healthy. We want you to be looking at your mindset. We want you to look at how are you consuming from a standpoint, is it going to upregulate or downregulate, add to freedom and opportunity, or create more stress and disease? You know, I think that there's huge opportunities for us to be connecting in ways that we haven't before.
Yeah, amazing. And moving that out, what, you know, you just mentioned, you know, is this going to create more stress and disease, or freedom, love, and community? What role can chiropractors play in terms of where the Earth, the global unit, is moving through this and from this?
Oh, that's a really big question. I have no idea.
Tapping into your message of love, wholeness, and abundance.
I know what you're saying. I just don't want to put any pressure on myself and let people come back with me.
No one is going to hold you to this, Liz.
I know. So what would I love to see? I would love to see chiropractors being the forefront at coming together and saying, how can we help our community? And do it without the expectation of something in return. Do it because it's the right thing to do. It's our random act of kindness. Like I'm actually, now I'm just coming to this, and I'm actually going to phone 3 or 4 chiropractors today and say, guys, let's figure out how we can do this. But let's say that we have patients that do need us. It's an emergency situation, and we have it where in Ontario there are we're frontline and we're able to assist in certain scenarios. How do we want to manage this, and how can we be helping our community at spreading this opportunity that can be available for people to look at life in a whole new way, right? So I'm thinking that might be one thing to look at, is how do we come together from this? And this is the challenge, is that when we're in fear and when we're in stress, we go into high beta brain. We're looking for the predator. We go very solo. We become very singular, rather than doing the opposite of coming together, which is what love creates, right? Yeah. And so I think that that's what we need to be looking at. We need to make sure our messages are smart, they're accurate, right? You know, to me, it makes sense to get to have someone that's under acute stress or mental distress, have them checked, because we know that when the spine is moving more easily, we understand how that has an impact on changing the neuromusculospinal tissues, impacting the brain, creating a different opportunity.
Mm.
That's the
Yeah.
experience I have, at least. I'll put it
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. And there seems to be such a huge role that chiropractors can play into this next stage that the Earth is moving into, and increasing the probability of the future that we want for the planet or for the universe.
Absolutely. I think we need to say, you know, I think we need to really start to say, look, when we're vulnerable, what is it that's created our vulnerability? And we need to look at ourselves individually. And rather than telling people what to do and telling patients what to do, I think it's better to ask the question, if we feel vulnerable, what creates that vulnerability? So let's look at our ability to resist disease. What are the practices that are going to help you resist disease better? We already have some that are put out there by public health. We have some that people can walk themselves through. There's some nutrient things, and I'm not talking about treating a particular disease. I'm talking about creating and generating, self-generating health from the inside out, more of a salutogenic model. So I think those are really important questions to be asking our people and having their conversation expand to their families as well in that direction.
And maybe just finishing up, moving beyond the biological salutogenic health, what would you love for the more the mind, body, soul connection, unity of the individual's humanity and the planet beyond this?
That's a big question. I think, I often reflect on the commentary by astronauts. And they say, I'm going to get emotional here. And they often say that when they're out in space, they see this beautiful big blue planet. There's no borders. There's no, it's this big, beautiful blue, green, white planet. And I think we need to start to think, sort of like the Navajo Indians did, is that what are we doing that's going to have an impact 7 generations down from where we are now? And we're all in this together. To think that there are countries and borders, and yeah, I get the geopolitical situation, but everything affects everything. And how can we make our grandkids and our great, great, great grandkids proud of the decisions we've made today? Because they're the ones that are going to be existing on the planet that's going to be in whatever state it's going to be. So this is our opportunity to wake up and say, how do we play in a bigger game?
Excellent, excellent. And so maybe one last question. Do you have a question or a statement or something that you would love every chiropractor to reflect on?
Yeah. Who are you today? And what are you feeling right now? How would you like to feel? Pick that word, and I want you to close your eyes and breathe that word in and out. I want you to think of the word, but I want you to feel the word. And I want you to feel how your body is sitting with that word. And your body might do some movement with it, but just keep focusing. So if you're focusing on love, where do you feel love? Where are you feeling love? Where can you, if you were to sense an awareness of love around you, not in your body, but sort of like if I was to say, I want you to feel the tip of your nose. You're not placing awareness until I tell you to place awareness there. Place awareness on the feeling of love around your body, right? And a lot of that comes sort of from the heart math piece as well. And I think that that's really key, is where are you now? Where do you want to be? And why not be where you want to be in the future now? Because as I've learned from Joe, is when we keep thinking about the past and bring that forward to our present and we expect a different future, that makes no sense. We actually have to decide what our future is going to be and what we want to feel. And even though we may not be able to see it, we bring it back towards us by what we're feeling, because when we change our feeling, that's what we can see. Yeah. Meaning, if we're angry, we see anger. If we are in love, we see love. If we are in gratitude, we see random acts of kindness and compassion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Long answer.
That's great. That's great. Focusing on what we want and shifting our state in order to be there now. I think
absolutely.
It's the one thing, as you said, that we can control right now in the situation we're in and in every situation we're in.
Exactly.
So, As always, Liz, thank you very, very much for your time. There's such wisdom and heart-centered love in through there. I just really love it. And it's an important message for chiropractors. So thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. It's, yeah, raw. We got the workout look going on. It's totally raw. I love it. But more importantly, love and appreciate you. And I love and appreciate my colleagues who all love and serve to help people. So we're all in it together.
That's beautiful.